deep into the plays, players, and stories shaping the game. And we up hunting once again, episode 5 of this series. And what that means is each month I do 2 episodes of this series. This is the 5th episode, and the 6th episode will be out next week likely, where I pick 2 different wrestlers or wrestlers from different promotions to win tag titles, and they're the hunter, while the current champions are the ops, and that's what they're looking for. This is not an AEW reference, at least not for now. But the IC Championship is what Bronson Reed will be hunting for in 2026, and that hunt starts this year. And this is how I will book it. And Op Hunt is me a fantasy booking, different ideas of how certain wrestlers should win championships, the stories they should tell, the time frame they should do it in. So I'm finna get straight into it. October 27th, episode, that's a Raw. Episode of Raw had Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed talk shit to Adam Pearce backstage for taking out the Battle Royal, just ignoring Paul Heyman's lead, not listening to his advice. And then LWO, they arrive and they're there. They're attempting to save Adam Pearce. They stand up for him. So they kissing some ass, and they're gonna get a tag team match for that ass kissing. So it pays off for LWO to get a tag team match, try to establish themselves as a top tag team, as they say that their former partner Dragon Lee is a tag team champion now. Shout out to Dragon Lee and AJ Styles. But they probably feel a way about that, so they can team up and try to take down the Bronze, which they won't do because Bronson Reed is going to pin Joaquin Wild for the Bronze to win the match. But it's going to be a good way to establish some tag teams on Raw to get a phenomenal Dragon some opponents in the coming months. Yeah, that's what I'm calling AJ Styles and Dragon Lee throughout the video, the Phenomenal Dragons. They don't have an official tag team name yet, but they should go with that one. So I'm going to be calling them that in reference for this video. But yeah, I had them win. November 1st is Saturday night's main event. Jey Uso and CM Punk are fighting for the World Heavyweight Championship. Likely to be the main event. The way I would book this, I would have a ref take a bump. Maybe Jay is going for a spear and he accidentally spears the ref because he's behind CM Punk for whatever reason. I don't know why he would be in that position, but fuck it, it happens all the time. So then I have Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed come out there and just beat down on Jay and CM Punk as they're down. Then I have Jimmy come out there to be the equalizer, and then the Usos try to double team Braun Breaker, and Jimmy accidentally kicks Jay, and the Browns they escape. CM Punk ends up winning the World Heavyweight Championship. CM Punk winks at Jimmy Uso after that. Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, they explain that they should be the ones with the gold. That's why they caused the attack. It should be Braun Breaker, or it should be one of them in the match, not Jey Uso, because CM Punk was going to get the match anyways. But they didn't feel like Jay should be in the match. They don't like CM Punk to begin with, and they want to establish dominance. So on November 3rd, start this with a backstage segment. Don't even start with an in-ring promo. Start with a backstage segment on Monday Night Raw. Jay and Punk are both pissed. They're backstage and going at it, and Jay wants his rematch because he felt like it was unfair. And then Adam Pearce is back there, and Jimmy tries to apologize to Jay, but Jay doesn't want to hear it because he didn't want Jimmy out there. He didn't want to help. He wanted to go it alone. He wanted to do things by himself. So Adam Pearce makes it official that later in the night it will be a tag team match where Jimmy Uso is the special guest referee, as CM Punk and Jey Uso have to team up to take on the Bronze. And Jimmy, as the special guest referee, accidentally gets kicked by his brother Jay. The seeds of the heel turn are being planted. And then Jay doesn't check on Jimmy after that super kick. He super kicks him and he's like, oh well, match continues. That's what it got to be to plant these seeds of a heel turn. Can't check on him. And then a new ref, Jimmy is down for so long that a new ref has to come out there. Gonna play it off as if Jimmy got a chin injury from the kick. That's how bad it was. And then a new ref is out there, and Jay gets frustrated. The conflict between Jay and Punk continues to grow, and Jey Uso gets himself disqualified. So Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed have now won their last 2 tag team matches. Now the Usos, Punk, they won't matter for the rest of the story, but they're the one. This is how you start this build for Bronson Reed to win the IC title. So they won't be involved anymore, just to let y'all know that for the rest of the video. Then on November 10th, on that episode of Raw, after 2 tag team wins, the Bronze feel like they deserve a shot versus the Phenomenal Dragons, who they come out to the ring, they respond and say, y'all look good as a tag team, but if y'all can beat one more tag team of our choosing, next week, y'all get a shot at our titles at Survivor Series 4 games. And they agreed to it. Paul Heyman was like, this is a good deal. I trust AJ Styles. I trust his judgment. So let's do it. Y'all can take on whoever next week. So we get to November 17th, that episode of Raw, and it's the Browns taking on the War Raiders, former tag team champions. They just beat LWO recently. They beat, even though they won by DQ, they still got a win over two former world heavyweight champions, and now they have a chance to go up against a former world tag team champions in the War Raiders, who are a good tag team, even though they haven't been shown on TV recently, when they were in the Battle Royal. But aside from that, they haven't been featured much. But to establish a tag team division, you got to have your tag teams wrestle, and this is a good way to do it. And I will have Bronson Reed pin Ivar, earning them a shot at the tag team titles. And then the Phenomenal Dragons, they pop up on the shrine, and they're impressed with the victory. They're very impressed. They clap it up for the Browns and say that they get that title shot at War Games. And then Adam Pearce makes the announcement that two one-on-one matches will happen next week. Now Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed are on a three-match winning streak up to this point. Well, at least in this story, from November, from October 27th is when all this is starting. So anything before that, it doesn't matter for the most part. Some of it does, most of it doesn't. So on November 24th, you get two one-on-one matches between the teams. And they're going to split these one-on-one matches because one team can't win both matches. Because then it's obvious the other team will win. So I will have AJ Styles defeat Bronson Reed, and I will have Braun Breaker defeat Dragon Lee. And it's going to pay off because even though Bronson Reed, he does have some wins against some big names, that's going to be talked about later in this. That's going to be talked about in later promos. And he might lose his match, but I still think he can look good in it. I think this will be a great match. And this is a good way to build up the tag team match at War Games, which happens 5 days after that. At War Games, the Phenomenal Dragons would defend their Raw tag team titles against the Browns. And the reason they will lose is AJ Styles hits the back-to-back phenomenal forearms to Bronson Reed to take him out of the equation. And then that leaves Braun Breaker cornered. And now he's fighting one-on-two for the next minute or so versus AJ Styles and Dragon Lee. And he takes Braun Breaker spears AJ Styles, and then he's looking to spear Dragon Lee as well. But Becky Lynch is attacking Paul Heyman. She takes him out of the equation, which distracts Braun Breaker, and Dragon Lee gets his pin back and retains the Raw Tag Team titles for him and AJ Styles. And the Phenomenal Dragons continue their Tag Team Championship reign, who they will be mentioned again for a different reason. But for now, for the next few shows, they won't be mentioned. But I think that's how you do that. Then at War Games as well, it's rumored that John Cena is going to be taking the IC title off of Dominic, which I think is the best choice at this point because he is a double champion. People wanted him in the world title match, even though he has 2 championships. He should focus on the AAA title and continue building up AAA. He can drop the IC title to John Cena, and then John Cena, after he wins it, he can announce my last 3 appearances will all be open challenges. Raw December 1st, Raw December 8th, and Saturday night's main event December 13th. So December 1st, on December 1st episode of Raw, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, they claimed that they were robbed due to Becky Lynch, due to her interference, and they said, ooh, but they're fine because they said they don't need the tag team titles no more, or they don't need them anyways. They want to establish dominance. Braun Breaker wants the World Heavyweight Championships that he so desperately deserves, and these are his words. This how, and this just coming off the top of my head. I didn't have the promos written down, but along the basis of something like that, and Bronson Reed, he could call out the likes of Dominic, Cena, Sheamus, Penta, and Rusev, saying he's going to go after all the top names. And Rusev, he hears this, and he wants a match. And then the promo back and forth gets real intense, and Rusev is like, then Adam Pearce announces, because like Adam Pearce is going to be involved in this heavily. He was like, he makes the match and says whoever loses gets traded. So Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis got something working. So whoever loses this match is going to get traded. And Bronson Reed gets the win, and Rusev is traded for Rey Fenix. And then John Cena does an open challenge for the IC title. Sheamus accepts it. And then we get Sheamus versus Cena one last time. And Cena ends up retaining because he's not going to lose till December 13th, Saturday night's main event. And then December 8th, you have Bronson Reed bumping into Rey Fenix backstage and catering while Rey Fenix is eating some steak, potatoes, green beans. Don't ask me why he's eating so much before he has a match later in the night. Let's just say it's at the top of the hour, and then his match is the main event later on in the show. Okay, So Bronson Reed gonna bump into him, and the stake is gonna fall. The stake gone. Ray Phoenix, well done steak, all gone. Just hit the floor and catering. It's a sad day. Then John Cena does another open challenge, and this time he gets three competitors that are all hungry for a shot. Bronson Reed, Ray Phoenix, and The Miz all arrive, and that sets up a fatal four-way main event. Cause Cena's like, I'll take on all three of y'all in a fatal four-way. Now that likely won't happen, but it's just fun. It'll be cool to see. And John Cena would pin The Miz as Ray Phoenix and Bronson Reed will be too focused on each other, and their fight will continue post-match. December 13th, Saturday night's main event, John Cena Open Challenge. Chris Jericho returns and he defeats John Cena for the championship. John Cena's last match doesn't need to be against a younger talent. It should be against a returning Chris Jericho or Edge if that can happen, but I think the realistic option is Chris Jericho, which would also be a very good choice. Then I will have Bronson Reed and Ray Phoenix have a match that ends in a no contest as both Penta and Braun Breaker get involved in this match. December 15th, that following Raw after that, Chris Jericho, he cut a promo about how happy he is to be back with WWE and give this shout out to John Cena. Then I will have Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed cut a promo that tired of their potential single runs being ruined by tag teams and erupting it, such as LWO, such as the Lucha Bros. And Ray Phoenix is pissed about what happens and he wants his rematch against Bronson Reed. So that will take place next week. But then on December 15th, episode of Raw, Penta will take on Braun Breaker, and Penta will win due to Seth Rollins popping up on the screen, causing him a distraction. Even though Seth is injured, there's still a way they can use him, assuming that he's, let's just say, back in 4 to 6 months. Let's just say 6 months. He can return in that time frame. It's different stuff that Seth and Becky can do throughout those months to continue building that story. So when Seth comes back, it's already in place. So having him pop up on screen and making Braun Breaker lose this random match would help for the story, in my opinion. And then December 22nd, episode of Raw, I will have Bronson Reed take on Ray Phoenix, have a part 2 in a chairs match. Now, we haven't seen a chairs match in forever. I think they could pull this off, and it'll be very brutal, but I think Bronson Reed can get the win. No interference from Braun Breaker or Penta, just a straight, clean one-on-one chairs match with Bronson Reed defeating Ray Phoenix in part 2. And he gets the win. And that is at the end of the... Yeah, then that could be... Yeah. And then on that same episode of Raw, I will have Chris Jericho talk... I will have the New Day just talk trash to Chris Jericho backstage, and then the Phenomenal Dragons have Jericho's back. As AJ Styles and Chris Jericho used to be a tag team, so I'd imagine when Chris Jericho returns, he's going to do something with AJ Styles, whether it be a match or whether it be them teaming together in 6-man tag team matches. December 29th episode of Raw. The New Day, they want a title shot versus Jericho, and he accepts, but he don't know which member he's going to face. So this seems like a stupid idea. And it's Grayson Waller that accepts. But the Phenomenal Dragons provide some help for Jericho to even up the odds, and Chris Jericho retains. And that story isn't over either. So then, Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, they have their match with the Lucha Bros, and this is what concludes their story. They had a tag team match. Braun and Bronson get the tag team win. And now after this, Braun and Bronson can now focus on their main objective, which is winning singles gold. And they want to pick their spots in the Royal Rumble. And that appears it's like, y'all can't pick y'all spots unless both of y'all can win a match that might choose the next week. And I'm going to find the toughest opponent for both of y'all. So it's a challenge for y'all to pick where y'all want to be in the Royal Rumble. Because you can declare for the Royal Rumble, but Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker want to pick their spots because they want to work together and be the last two there. Then it comes down, and then so they can fight it out and see who's the one going after the world title. But they're trying to do the strategic thing to be the last two. So January 5th, the first Raw episode of 2026, the New Day call out the Phenomenal Dragons and Chris Jericho want a 6-man tag team match. But they don't want it till next week. They don't want it that same night. They want to do it next week. And then Bronson Reed, he has a match for Sheamus, who Adam Pearce picked for him. And Bronson Reed gets the win, and he wants the 18th spot in the Royal Rumble. 18th might seem like a very interesting number, but he doesn't want a top 10 spot, but he doesn't want to come in last either. because he knows that if he comes in last, it's a target on his back. Even though 27 could be a good move, because that's where most people have won from, that's became less. It's now, I think 27 and 30 are now tied for the most, but it was 27 for a minute. And then on January 12th, on that episode of Raw, I would have Braun Breaker defeat Finn Balor, and he picks the 21st spot in the Royal Rumble. So they're 3 spots apart, and they feel like this is where they can work best and work with each other. Because it's sort of in the middle, not directly, but it's a little bit past the middle, but it's not directly at the end. So, and then they'll be able to work together, only being 3 spots away from each other, assuming that Bronson Reed stays in it long enough. And then the New Day, I would have them in a 6-man tag team match versus Chris Jericho and Phenomenal Dragons, with Xavier Woods pinning Ray Phoenix due to a super fast count from the referee. January 19th, the Phenomenal Dragons are pissed about that fast count, and Chris Jericho pulls up to him. He shows him a video of the New Day paying off the referee. And so I'll revisit that for next week's episode of Raw. Then January 19th, um, um, on this same Raw, Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, they could have promo speaking on how they established dominance. Bronson Reed already has pins over the likes of the Usos, Randy Orton, and Roman Reigns, so it's going to use that in his promo and talk about what he's going to do, talk about how they're going to be the last two in the Royal Rumble, and whoever wins it, they're going to be satisfied and happy with the other, even though we know that wouldn't be true, but that's how they're going to play it off in this story. And then January 26th, on that episode of Raw, I would have Adam Pearce make it official that at the Royal Rumble, the Phenomenal Dragon and Chris Jericho will team up to take on the New Day in a trio steel cage elimination match for the tag titles and the IC title. And then Brock Lesnar would meet Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed backstage, foreshadowing something that could happen in the future. January 31st of the date of the Royal Rumble. The trio steel cage elimination match for both the IC title and tag titles between Chris Jericho and the Phenomenal Dragons taking on the New Day. I would have AJ Styles and Kofi Kingston be the last two, and I would have AJ Styles use the Sting Scorpion Deathlock to make Kofi tap. That would allow the Phenomenal Dragons to retain the Raw Tag Team titles and Chris Jericho to retain the Intercontinental title, and then continue building that. So the Phenomenal Dragons, they won't be mentioned anymore, but Chris Jericho still will be mentioned because he's the most prominent piece in this. And then after that, in the Royal Rumble, I would have Bronson Reed get 5 eliminations, being Brock Lesnar, after they met face to face, and Trick Williams, who I think you can build a story with going into Elimination Chamber, Rusev, who he beat and was traded to Raw, Shinsuke Nakamura, who he doesn't have much history with, and Solo Sikoa, who he teamed up in War Games with in 2024. That's the 5 I would have him eliminate. And then Braun Breaker, I would have him eliminate the Usos since he has history with both of them. And I would have him eliminate Javon Evans just because. Is that he ain't going to put on, I know Javon Evans going to put on some weight in the future, but by that time, by January 31st, 2026, they're going to put on that needed weight, which I don't think he don't need a crazy amount of weight. He's going to put on weight for sure, but I just think Javon Evans, he going to get to shine in the Royal Rumble, but I think Braun Breaker would be a good guy to eliminate him, just be too fast for Javon Evans. And then the final 6 participants in the Royal Rumble would be Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, Sami Zayn, Randy Orton, and Angelo Dawkins. I think that's 6 people. And I would have LA Knight win. And yes, I say Angelo Dawkins as part of the final 6. Have fun, do whatever you want with that, but Angelo Dawkins is in my predictions for the final 6. Not my predictions, but that's how I would book it, and I would have LA Knight win, even though Sammy will probably win. I'm not going to talk about that. But February 2nd, that episode of Raw following Royal Rumble, Chris Jericho announces he will defend his IC title inside the Elimination Chamber. The last time we seen a title defended in the Elimination Chamber was in 2023. It was the U.S. title, it was on the line. So bring back championship matches to the Elimination Chamber, which I've been begging for. That's what I would do. And there will be 5 qualifying matches to determine who competes. So on that night, that I would have Bronson Reed defeat. Let's see. Bronson Reed, I would have him defeat Trick Williams to become the to be the first one to enter the elimination chamber. So I think that could be a cool match they could have, and it's gonna make the most sense because Trick Williams still gonna find his way into this match, and how he does that, it's gonna be very interesting because it's or actually no, I don't want it to be Trick. Now that I think about it, I think so. I got a book on the fly because I just realized what I did. Okay, I have Bronson Reed defeat El Grande Americano, not Trick Williams, because I want Trick to be in it, but I don't want him to have two chances at it because that'd just be stupid. So I just realized what I did. So I would change, had to make a change on the fly. But I would have Bronson Reed defeat El Grande Americano to be the first entrance into the Elimination Chamber. And with El Grande, a little with Kaiser probably, I think they would have good chemistry. And then I would have Xavier Woods and Kofi be in a match against each other, which they weren't expecting. And Xavier Woods gets the win, and Kofi Kingston turns on Woods, making Xavier Woods the face. Because we're not getting the Usos versus New Day anytime soon. So why not pull the trigger and have Woods and Kofi finally go one-on-one, and Kofi turns and Woods becomes a face out of this. So Xavier Woods and Bronson Reed have qualified for Elimination Chamber. February 9th, I would have Otis and Trick Williams have a match, and I would have Trick defeat Otis to qualify for the match. But I think that could be a good match, and I think Otis is very underrated. And then I would have Austin Theory defeat Grayson Waller to qualify. So completing the stories that they haven't finished when Austin Theory comes back, who knows? But I think he should be back by February. It, it, he better be back by February. But I would pull the trigger on that match and have Theory beat him to qualify, proving who was the better wrestler. Then Braun Breaker was, I mean not Braun Breaker, Brock Lesnar would send another message to Bronson Reed after that elimination chamber. February 16th, the triple threat match returned on spot in elimination chamber. Shane Mysterio. Logan Paul gets the win. Each one heel and the two other baby faces. So it makes the most sense. And then it'll be a promo segment between all six elimination chamber competitors and Trick Williams, Bronson Reed, Logan Paul, Chris Jericho, Austin Theory, and Xavier Woods. And on February, on February 23rd episode of Raw, I would have Bronson Reed, Trick Williams, Logan Paul, and three heels team up to take on three baby faces, and Chris Jericho, Austin Theory, and Xavier Woods. But it ends, and this will start Raw, but it ends ends and no contest due to every rule that's being broken. Like everybody, the ref trying to win. Some of it's flat, get slower counts. Was used a bit slower count. Now going to be used, and ending in a no contest. That'll protect everybody going into elimination chamber. But this only the second match out of 14 of book that ends in a no contest. Because for the most part, Bronson Reed is either taking wins or it's going to take a few losses. I don't want to tell him that it's in no contest. So only book two matches, and this can end in no contest. And then February 28th at Elimination Chamber, the champion Chris Jericho against Bronson Reed, Woods, Trick Williams, Austin Theory, and Logan Paul. Now we have Bronson Reed and all five men, pinning Chris Jericho first, getting champion out of there. And I don't know if Chris Jericho's body can take bumps in the elimination chamber now, especially since he's near retirement. So I think Chris Jericho had to eliminate first, and I will have him and Trick be the last two, and Bronson Reed pins Trick Williams to become the new Intercontinental Champion. This is how you start the elimination chamber. You start the elimination chamber this way, and confronted by Brock Lesnar. I know some people think that shit in the show with Brock Lesnar is coming out, but you gotta have a banger of a start. So this is how I do that. I think this is how I would do it. That would be the show starter in my opinion for elimination chamber. Bronson Reed champion. And to conclude everything, I would have Bronson Reed compete in 14 matches before Elimination Chamber, have him get 8 wins with 4 losses, and have 2 matches that ends in a draw. So out of the 14, only 2 are going to end in a draw. And this is how I look at his top feuds will be against the Phenomenal Dragons, against Rusev, against the Lucha Bros, against Trick Williams, and against Brock, which the seeds will be planted, and the Brock feud will kickstart his IC title reign. But they'll be building up the feud throughout the backstage segments, Royal Rumble, and then Elimination Chamber. But Trick and Rusev, that's gonna come through the Royal Rumble, through matches that they have at pay-per-views, and I think that's gonna be a good way for to just really get Trick over as well on the main roster. Like he gonna be well over because he's over in NXT and TNA, winning the TNA title. So I think he's gonna have a good main roster run, and I think that'll be a good feud for both him and Bronson Reed. Then the tag team feuds, that's gonna establish them more because they're taking on incredible tag teams that include AJ Styles and Penta. So they're taking on guys who are well renowned around the world. Bronson Reed and Brown Breaker. But this is just focused on Bronson Reed. And this is how I would book him to become the IC champion in 2026 with these stories. And his purpose is to establish himself as one of the greatest IC champions ever. When you talk about greatest IC champions, people discuss The Miz, Razor Ramon, Gunther, Pat Patterson, etc. So Bronson Reed wants to stamp his name as one of those guys, and then he becomes a main eventer in the future. But that starts with him getting the mid-card title first, which I think the IC title is perfect for a guy like Bronson Reed's caliber. So let me know what y'all think. This is how I would book it personally. This is the best booking that I came up with. Let me know what y'all think. Leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel. Comment y'all thoughts. Let me know if y'all like the storytelling and the booking. Do y'all dislike it? But yeah, this video went longer than I expected because there was other pieces that I had involved that I had to explain so the story all makes sense. But I hope y'all enjoyed that video, and I'll see y'all next time.